Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It's Marvin speaking. We're going to get straight into a video. The real story coming out was Jay Slater set up by friends to take the fall. Well, when I looked at, especially the last couple of days of videos and the tarot card reader, when it was insinuated by someone sending a message to her that Lucy called the boss on Jay for losing the bag, so someone had to take the rap for it, and it wasn't going to be Lucy, it wasn't going to be Brad. I don't think at this point, I think Brad knew what was happened but didn't want to say anything and took himself out of the situation. But he could have, as a friend, just said, look, let's get him out of here. But maybe the issue which happened to Jay on the beach was a little bit too much. I often look at the friendship. It seems like Lucy and Brandon, in my sense of, in my theory, that they seem like really good friends, probably a bit more tighter than Lucy to Jay, or Brandon to Jay, I think. And I do think that Lucy calls all the shots in this friendship between Lucy, Brandon, Brad, and I think that Lucy works for Ayub, who Ayub calls the shots, and I think Lucy is like a lieutenant for Ayub. I do think that with the Brandon situation, because everyone knows what's going on, he said that he is talking to the police, and one of the reasons why he hasn't talked is he's being threatened or told not to say anything, because obviously these boys, some of them are from the UK and could maybe threaten him or get to him. Or is it that he just doesn't want anything to do with the situation and wants to distance himself from it? And if he's talking to the police and giving a statement, that's fair enough, that's all he can do. But there's a lot of questions have been put out there about Brandon. I think the other thing is Lucy's relationship with Jay. It's often been talked about, especially over the last week. They've been having a relationship for some reason, and it went a bit Pete Tong. Even if there were something going on, I think the situation about the bag is 99% true. Nothing's 100%, but I do think that it had a lot to do with losing the bag, why Lucy made that phone call. A lot of people believe in those messages, a lot of people don't. That's up to each individual to look at. But what I found, to look at into themselves, what I found was a lot of those messages do tie into the story and fit missing pieces. So I don't think, I think about 80-90% of it is true. There's some little bits which I thought maybe, I need to write that off. But I know that those, a lot of people listen to my videos and messages and had a lot of questions about the tarot card reader. And I was told personally that it's going to be looked into the police about those messages to see whether they're legit. So someone is obviously doing something about it. Let's start this video and I'll comment as we go.
What was Jay Slater's setup? We've another theory today to explore whether Jay was really set up. Have a listen, let us know.
Jay was set up by one of his friends. Now guys, think about it. Jay went on holiday with Lucy and Brad, and then he just so happens to go back to an Airbnb which has been booked by one of Lucy's friends, Ayub Kassim. We know that they're friends now because Ayub told us in the live stream.
Do I know Lucy? I know her a little bit. I know her through my friends. I had like a couple of interactions with her. I saw her at NRG Xanadu. She said, "Where else did I see Lucy? I see her now on the strip."
You see, this live stream has shed a lot of light, and it's given us a lot more information from the horse's mouth. Now guys, think about it. Think about what I'm saying here. Ayub, the convicted criminal, the guy with loads of connections around the world. He's friends with Potter Paper, another well-connected guy. As I've said in my previous videos, Potter Paper and his friends are also ex-convicts. These are not the type of people that Jay should have gone back with. Now why did he go back with them? What if they tricked him? What if this was a setup? And what if Lucy Law was involved? Why doesn't Ayub Kassim just tell the truth? You know, he seems surprised when...
Well, he can't, can he? Because I think he's, like I said, well connected. And if he did tell the truth, I think this could cause a chain reaction. And the Spanish authorities especially, and probably Interpol looking into who he moves with. I think that's why Ayub is what he's really, really worried about, I think. And is turning this disappearance of Jay into a comedy show, which is absolutely appalling. And I think a lot of people want it stopped, and him questioned in the UK. Whether that happens or not, I'm not sure. It depends who talks, who comes forward is. Yes, we've had secret messages come through. Like I said, the tarot card reader, I think that story in my head was credible. I really, really do. Where those messages come from, it's not 100% sure, but they seemed, a lot of them did seem legit. And I stand by that, I really do.
People talk about Jay being scared.
And why was...
So, was Jay's...
So that was that. There's still a lot of questions, I think, may not ever be answered, or us knowing the truth as the public, unless someone comes forward and tells us the real whole story of what really went on from section to section. Part 2, which have come Part 2, this is some interesting information. Hodge, as is Brandon Hodgkins, it's an update. Let's get straight into the video. If I do stop, it's just to make a quick comment.
People still have tons of questions in the Jay Slater case, and it's far from over, in my opinion. Now that Ayub Kassim and Rocky are speaking out, there are so many red flags. I just don't think it was as simple as he was walking into the mountainous terrain and had a fatal fall. I think the events leading to why Jay left that Airbnb is where a lot of the answers lie. Jay's friend, Brandon, who was also in Tenerife with them, has never spoken out publicly. Lucy and Brad have spoken out, while Brandon returned home and never said a word. A lot of rumors are circulating about Brandon, as many wonder why he hasn't said a word. Ayub has now come out saying that people must join his Telegram, and he will maybe have Brandon come on there. Brandon's surname is Hodgkin, which takes me back to this screenshot of a message sent to Debbie at the very beginning of this case. Wondering if there is any...
To be honest, I've seen a load of videos on this message, and it sounds really, really legit, and it explains the breakdown on why Jay was moving around that night and it was a lot of conversation. That's why I think the phone messages on Brad's phone, Jay's, Lucy's, Ayub's is very, very, very important to actually crack this case. That was the first thing the police should have done, was take away the phones and check the messages, because like I said, you know, these phones could be destroyed now, burned, melted, you know, and no one know the true story in what really happened to Jay Slater, and why, if he was at the B&B, what happened.
Truth to this now, since Ayub also mentioned Jay having knives on him that night. This person claimed to be on the same flight as Lucy, Brad and Jay, and hung out with them at the festival. He said that Jay had no money left, but wanted to get some coke. This person and his friend went to Brad's hotel early parts of the morning, and on the way to the hotel, Brad contacted Jay. I believe at this point, Jay was with the two men on his way to their Airbnb, or already there. Jay mentioned that he was going to try and get back and meet them there. They then received a FaceTime call on Brad's phone, which interestingly enough, Brad talks about in his interview, but not in this much detail. During this call, Jay said he left and had 2 kitchen knives with him, as he didn't feel safe. This person then goes on to talk about the watch that Jay took from someone, and wanted to sell it to pay off a drug debt. Jay didn't have money the night before, so he built up a debt with Hodge. Now, many are wondering whether Hodge is Brandon, and short for Hodgkins. It's interesting because Ayub sure knows Brandon, and says he can come on Telegram to talk about things, to vetted people only.
I mean, look, it could be very true he ran up a debt with one of his mates, and it could have caused them to have an altercations or a fight. That fight on the beach could well have been, or earlier on, between Brandon and Jay. That's a possibility. That could have happened, that they had an altercation and fell out over it, and then it led to different scenarios happening. I think there could be, many people say it was a setup due to one of Tom's friends being there as well. It could be a lot of things that could have set this off as well.
Another theory going around is that Jay did take a watch from someone that Ayub knew personally in Tenerife. As we know, Ayub is quite a well-known guy. When they found out, Jay was scared and left in a hurry with knives because they might have been after him. What do you guys think? After all we know now, could this text to Debbie actually be true?
Interesting. It's very, very interesting, but it could be, like I said, it could be truth, or it could be a decoy just to take people off the path and just give them something else to think about. Because there's a lot of, like I said, unanswered questions still in this case, and it could still remain a mystery forever unless someone talks. I came across this lady talking, Mariana, and 3 points she made. You have 3 choices: knock on your maid's door, or whoever you're sharing an apartment with, go to reception desk to get a new key, get in a car with 2 random, or to sleep on the sofa. Which one are you going to choose? Interesting. Let's go straight. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Good afternoon and welcome to TikTok News with Mariana. So my point today is, it's on this missing key card. Yet again, we've got another random bit of information that's been passed out to us. And all these people involved in this story of JS, they're all linked somehow. Whether they know each other, they're friends of friends, but each single one of them are all linked into this story. Lucy knows Ayub.
I did mention this, that they're all interlinked. You Lucy, Brandon, Ayub, Brad, and the other friends that were there. There was another girl of Lucy's friends. Nobody really knows who she is. And I'm sure there was another lad that was with them as well, or am I mistaken? But someone can obviously query that a bit later.
Obviously Brad knows Lucy because it's Jay's friend. It's all very interlinked. You've got this Brandon who's just disappeared off the face of the earth. No one's talking about Brandon. I'm finding it very odd at the moment, and one piece that I'm really struggling to get to grips with, if you're off your face, which we've seen on the videos of JS in this NRG festival, right? If you're off your face, how are you going to know you've lost your key? And how does his uncle know he lost his key? Who told him that, right? But you've got the choice, right? You can either go to the hotel room with your friend Brad to go in because he's lost his key, or would you not knock on the door to get this key, or would you go to reception to get another key because you've lost yours? Why would you get in a car with two random guys that you don't know?
Apparently, where they were staying, Lucy, Brandon, Brad, Jay, that reception was open 24/7. But I believe there was a reason why he actually couldn't go back there. I think he fell out with one of his friends. There was possibly a fight. Everyone thinks it might have been with Brad because he got a black eye. Did Brandon also join in? Was it over money or the lost sweets? It's just a crazy situation because so many things it could be over. I first thought it could have been a revenge attack, but now after listening basically to the tarot card reader, it's put me onto a completely different theory.
That apparently is now on Jay's phone. How do they know that? There is no phone that's been recovered, okay? But these two guys from the Airbnb are in Jay's phone contact somehow, right? Why would you do that? But also, where you've consumed so much substance, as we can see from the videos of JS, he's not able to keep his head up. So how do you know he lost his key? I understand when you're under the influence, you have clouded judgment and you might not make the best decisions. Fair enough, but I think this whole Airbnb and these two guys, I'm not believing it. I'm not believing the Airbnb situation, and that's my point. Finding it very odd to believe, but that's my point on that. What would you choose? Would you go in a car with two randoms? Would you go to your hotel, knock on your mate's doors to let you in because they're still going to be awake because they've just come back from the same festival as you? Or are you going to go to the reception desk and ask for a new key? Let me know. That's news.
Yeah, very, very true. There were great points made, and if he did lose his key, he could have gone back there, which wasn't apparently far from the club. People have said Brad was still raving, said in an interview, but was said that he went back to the apartment. So which is it? I think his phone went to the Airbnb. I think he went somewhere else. That's a possibility, especially with the cars being seen at the beach and all the arguments kicking off there. Why wouldn't he just tell Brad to leave the door open? You would, wouldn't you? Or give one of your mates a ring, or Lucy a ring. Did JS ever opt to join these people, or was he invited? That's the question. Didn't Abe also say that he was driving? So why was he suitable to drive to the B&B but not to Jay's room, either before the B&B to check it if he got in, or after when Jay wanted to go home? That's my point, one of the best points I've actually heard, because like I said, I don't think Jay was very far. Or why didn't he walk it? I don't think he was that from the hotel. What, 5-10 minutes, if that? I don't think it was that far to where Jay's friends was actually saying Lucy, Brandon and Brad. That just doesn't make sense to me. There's some reason he didn't want to go back there and wanted to get out of this situation. So that tells me it definitely had something to do with the friends. Reception have always got a new key. Nothing is adding up, changes daily. Yeah, it certainly does. So there were some of the comments on that video, but good points made there. An interesting development, if it's true. It's alleged news, Lucy Law seeking police protection. Interesting.
TikTokers, I hope you're well and I hope your day has been as great as you. I'm absolutely shattered if I'm honest. This training is so intense. A lot to take. So, she was seen going to the police station, and I believe this is where this come from. But very interesting.
That was only 2 days ago, so that was interesting. So that would have been the 26th. It makes you wonder, is an investigation put in place by the UK police now, and they've been doing their own investigation because there's so much happening, and people are trying to find news, threats made against Lucy, Brandon, Ayup and Brad. You just don't know, especially the youngsters. Someone's put, because of the trial and abuse threats, etc., leave the poor girl alone. Honestly, it's obsessive. That's a possibility. We will not stop until justice has been served. There might not be any justice to be served. Well, there may not be, but who knows until the investigation is finished. I do think that something tells me that there's a UK investigation, but they're probably doing it undercover. That wouldn't surprise me. I can't get out of my head that Ayub's appeared to slip up and say one of Jay's friends was there. Possibility Brad and Lucy were there. I reckon she took Jay to Ayub. They took him to the mountains, and Ayub and his friend are telling the truth about not murdering Jay. I reckon they beat Jay up, took him into the mountains, and made Jay jump. That's why they may not be taking responsibility for him leaving, because Jay jumped for a reason. Wow. Only person that was in the mountains was Ayup and Lucy and Brad, and Lucy remembers the doorstep video, female, foot, but after the party with 5 people, it's not Cluedo. She knows he was done at the beach. All this happened. I believe that he may have been injured or even killed at that beach, and then was moved around to make it look like an accident. The truth always comes out in the end. They all know what has happened to that poor lad, Jay, R.I.P. Jay Slater. I see this on TikTok, but not sure if it was true. Oh my God, it's all falling apart. I personally believe that someone is going to talk, and sooner rather than later.